These ones are.
Oh, there we go. Mic's on and we're good to go just after 4 o'clock on November the 7th for our latest Cabinet meeting. So welcome to Cabinet members, members of the public and councillors, I'm sure, when they arrive at some point. So as usual, the agenda papers and public forum submissions are available on the Council's website. Can I please draw your attention to the emergency evacuation procedure, which is outlined on the agenda and currently being displayed on the screen. The meeting will be webcast, so can I remind everyone to speak into the microphone to make sure you are heard clearly by the many people watching at home. On today's agenda, items 8, the Coach House Community Asset Transfer, and 9, Temple Quarter Delivery Strategy, each containing an exempt appendix with commercially sensitive information. So any discussion on the content of these appendices will have to be done in exempt sessions, but all your Cabinet members have been given access to them ahead of time. On to agenda item 2, Public Forum. All statements and questions will be taken at the time the relevant item is being discussed. And I'll either take the questions myself or hand them over to the relevant Cabinet member to respond. Agenda item 3, apologies for absence. We've had apologies from Nicola Beach. Apart from that, everyone is here. Agenda item 4, declarations of interest. We've had none in relation to today's agenda. Agenda item 5, matters referred for consideration by scrutiny or full council. There have been no referrals from scrutiny or full council. Agenda item 6, reports from scrutiny commissions. There are no reports from scrutiny commissions. Agenda item 7, Chair's business. Just quickly, I just really want to welcome Marley Bennett to Cabinet today, to your first in-person Cabinet meeting. So welcome, Marley. You've got a really challenging role, taking on climate, energy and climate ecology and waste. And on my way in today, Marley, you know, I've already talked to you. I'll be taking photos of fly tips and litter on my way in because, you know, trying to clean up the city is a huge challenge that we've wanted to get a hold of. And, you know, congratulations on your role of councillor over the years, and it's fantastic to have you come into the Cabinet. And also that is part of a shift in some Cabinet responsibilities. So Councillor Tom Renard recently became leader of the Labour group of councillors, formalised, and Tom's portfolio is now going to solely focus on housing delivery and homelessness. And Kai is going to move over. He's going to retain energy, but is going to take over Cabinet lead for council housing services. So Kai, some, you know, obviously areas of critical importance to many thousands of people in Bristol. Okay, so on to agenda item 8, and this is a great piece of news for the city, and this is the Coach House Community Asset Transfer. And Craig, you're going to bring this item.
Yeah, thanks, Marvin. I'm absolutely delighted to bring this to Cabinet today. It's yet another example of this administration's approach to putting assets in the hands of communities and organisations to drive change. This report grants an agreement for lease for a 125-year term and related service agreement at a peppercorn rent to the Black South West Network charity for the management and operation of the Coach House buildings in St Paul's. The Coach House is a council-owned property in Upper York Street, St Paul's, and BSWN has held the lease since May 2021, and it provides workspace and enterprise support services to Black, Asian and racially minoritised communities in the city. BSWN have set out their ambitions in a business case to develop the building. The aim is to substantially refurbish and modernise the building to ensure its long-term viable operation as a centre for Black enterprise and culture, supporting the formation and growth of sustainable enterprises and cultural creative activities by Black, Asian and racially minoritised residents and businesses. Our Community Asset Transfer Group considered BSWN's business case to redevelop and expand the coach house and originally offered a 35-year lease on the condition plans would be further developed and the capital required would be raised by May 2024. However, BSWN set out in a more developed business plan that a 35-year lease term would not satisfy the requirements of the main public and private sector funders. We want to place assets in the hands of people and communities who can give them a sustainable, resilient future. This project has exceptional social and local economic value to the city. Both the refurbishment project and the long-term provision of workspace facilities and support services to an underrepresented group in the city's enterprise and culture sectors which would generate millions. The estimated minimum benefit in monetary terms to the local economy from the start-up and growth of Black and Asian-led enterprises supported by the centre is circa £712,000 per year prior to refurbishment and over £1 million a year after. I am absolutely delighted to bring this to Cabinet today.
Thank you, Craig. So on this report, we've received 7 public forum statements and no questions. The first statement is from Abdulali Farah. Here today. Okay, well, we'll keep that one on record. The second statement is from Nancy Medina. Okay. Next, Kalpner Wolf. I can see you, Kalpner. Kalpner.
Thank you. Dear Council, I would like to make a statement supporting the Coach House Community Asset Transfer, as discussed. I'm the founder of 2 initiatives in Bristol, 91 Ways to Build a Global City and Be On Board. Both organisations aim to empower communities and deliver inclusion in our city. As a BME leader, having a collaborative, supportive space where we can meet, develop our teams and the skills in our communities is critical. Where the unique challenges we face are understood, and particularly a space where our mission and vision aligns. There is nothing in the city which provides this and which feels inviting and inclusive. The Coach House has already begun to achieve so much. It is an exciting hub where innovation and ideas thrive. The expansion of the Coach House can be this space for more people and which will, for certain, transform more lives, building much needed economic strength through exposure to successful role models, training, mentorship, enterprise and support. This today is a unique opportunity to drive real change for the outcomes for the people in our city. It is also an opportunity to create the much needed role models for our young people and to strengthen social value and social mobility. The Coach House is a strong and positive symbol of inclusion for Bristol, a flagship model, and its expansion will increase its impact, which will be felt by many across our city. I hope you will take my statement into consideration when making a decision on this asset transfer. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that statement. I'm just going to run through names because we've had quite a bit of interest. Dennis Lindsay, Clear Lake, Asha Mohammed and Huda Hajinoa. Yassine Mohammed also gave a statement. We had a late statement received from Samina Fombo and Mike Jenkins. Okay, so that's the list of the statements we received. Can I offer the floor to any Cabinet members on this item, please? Ali.
Thank you. I just really want to massively welcome this. It's very exciting and I'm really glad to see it finally over the line. Black South West Network have been a really key city partner. They're one of the first organisations I engaged with when I joined the Cabinet, and I've never failed to be impressed, inspired and in awe of the people that run that organisation, particularly Sado. I don't know if I'm allowed to name drop, but Sada's been, an incredible leader of that organisation. The way that she's engaged, not only, regarding organisations in her field, but on a citywide platform, bringing challenge to us and questioning our practice, but always in a collaborative way, with the needs of the city at the heart of what she's saying. She's brought really amazing pieces of work, such as designing a new social reality, which has been very reflective upon how we operate during COVID and how we can take things forward, and how we should be collaborating based on what we learned out of COVID and how to work with our VCSE partners better. But I think it's the supportive nature of working with organisations like Black South West Network that give me such hope for the city. Sado regularly says that she's an eternal optimist. It's a saying she drops in a lot of the time, and I just think that's her down to a T, and that's the ethos of the organisation, is that they hope for better, they want to model for better, and that they want to inspire that next generation of entrepreneurs in the city. It fills me with hope, and I think it's eternally inspiring. I just also want to quickly talk about the incredible way that we've invested in community assets over the tenure of having Marvin as mayor. We've had a credible track record of completing many CATs. We've got several city farms, adventure playgrounds, community centres, a swimming pool, community gardens, and many community centres across the city. So I think the way that we've invested in our communities, and when we put them in charge of buildings where we know they're best placed to run them, really shows that we are very collaborative and that we put the needs of communities first and foremost. So really welcome this. Congratulations to BSWN. Very happy for them and excited to see them progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. Asha?
Thank you. So today is actually quite a big day for me today, because I just revealed to members of the Cabinet that many, many moons ago, as chair of the Black Development Agency, we created the regional organisation. It was one of 9 regional organisations, and Black South West Network was the phoenix that rose through the ashes. And actually, it is the only Black-led organisation that works regionally that actually has survived since the demise of Government Office of the South West, because that's how it was created, identifying the need to build capacity in the Black voluntary and community sector. I've been around a long time, so I know the history, and I will write about it one day. But I also was a tenant in the Coach House many, many moons ago when we launched positive action training in housing. And at that time, the building was run by Brave. And I have to say, as a youngster back then, I always felt that this venue needed to be in the hands of the communities that it was serving. So it is absolutely phenomenal that after, I think it's been nearly 2 years, it's been a long time to get this over the line. So so I just want to set the record straight. Ellie pointed out that we've actually made over 62 community asset transfers since Marvin has been the mayor, and those transfers are right across the city. But this one really kind of takes the biscuit, and I just wanted to point out a couple of things. We are committed to community wealth building. It was baked into the funding that we awarded last year to the voluntary and community sector following their recovery from COVID. And I have to say, it was also on the research that Black South West Network actually led for the whole of the city, delivering a new social reality for Bristol's voluntary and community sector, that recovery fund was realised. That report, which was widely consulted on and endorsed by the whole sector, reinforced the role that community wealth building has in strengthening communities, and particularly those in the most disadvantaged communities across our city, helping them to achieve greater resilience. It also made clear that prioritising community wealth building through community assets is one of the ways in which we can strengthen those communities. And I'm incredibly proud of the work that BSWN and their board and supporters have done to actually put together one of the most incredible business plans that I have ever witnessed. And just like you, I want to say, as a black leader here in this city, I stand really proud today witnessing something that, as I said, I've dreamt about for nearly 40 years. And BSWN is a black-led organisation that epitomises black excellence and is considered a leading light, not only here in this city, but actually across the UK and beyond. The plan is ambitious, it's credible and financially sound, and it's been welcomed by communities, and we can see the strength of the feeling from the submissions that have been made today. And I do want to do a shout out to their director, Sade Jerde, who is considered a leading social entrepreneur and, as I said, well respected nationally by the wider sector. So I'm really excited to see the evolution of the Coach House, and I wish to publicly commend you for your resilience in realising this ambition that this CAT is going to bring to the community of St Paul's and indeed the wider city. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Asha. Just casting around it, I'll just say, a couple of words. One is, as you've set out, the commitment to asset transfers in the city over the years has really represented an incredible investment in our communities right across the city, in the south, central, northeast, and northwest wards, Redcatch Community Garden in Knoll, Philwood Community Centre, Jacobs Wells Baths, Malcolm X Community Centre, St George Community Centre, Felix Road Adventure Playground, the Ardagh, the Vench, Lockleigh, Shirehampton Public Hall and Library are amongst the list of places that have been asset transferred into the hands of communities. And it really fits with our approach to city governance. In our council strategy, we talked about being a development organisation. That means that we aren't just a collection of services. Part of our job is to find good people who want to get good stuff done, find good organisations who want to get good stuff and invest in them, and allow them to lead. It's community power, it's community, it's agency. It's a fantastic partnership with our voluntary community sector, in the city as well. And it just, again, it disperses that sovereignty, that leadership across the city outside of this organisation, which is going to be so important in the months and years to come. And I'll just say thank you as well. Obviously, lots of things happen behind the scenes, but three people in particular, Kevin Slocum, Stephen Peacock, and John Boss as well, who've done some really hard yards. These things aren't easy. These are not, the skill set we need to deliver this kind of community asset are not things that people protest about. Public toilets, libraries and parks, yes, but planners, accountants, people who can get the Excel sheet out and make the numbers work are not top of the list of the public's priorities. And yet they are absolutely critical to delivering the kind of city we need. So just my thanks on record for all those hard yards done behind the scenes. So thank you all. I see Marty in the gallery as well, and Kalpner, thank you for being here today and all the work you've put into this. Let me hand back to you now, Craig, to take the decision which I support and which will now be displayed on the screen.
Thanks, Marvin. I can't really top the kind of emotional contributions from yourself and Asha there. And I just extend my thanks to John, Kevin, Ellie, the rest of the CAT group actually, as well as all those kind of finance and legal officers in the background that have also pulled a lot of hard yards on this and don't get the thanks they deserve often. In terms of the decisions we made today, I approve the recommendations as set out in the reports.
Done. New chapter opened up. Great. Agenda item 9 now, and this is with me. This is the Temple Quarter delivery strategy. And this is actually another important step on the journey to the regeneration of Temple Meads and the surrounding areas. And there's been years of preparation and planning just to get to this point, starting with the very first strategic board back in 2017. And it's a sign of what organizations can do when they put their minds and efforts towards a common goal and all pull in the same direction with an openness to collaborate, pragmatically and flexibly, which is certainly what it's taken to get here over the last 6 years. So this has been a year of milestones for the project. We endorsed the development framework for the area, and we started enabling works on Temple Island. We appointed master planners last week to develop the next iteration of plans for the area, and a new entrance is being delivered as part of the first major improvements to the station in 100 years, and we will be there this week at that new entrance. We'll enter into a joint delivery vehicle to drive forward change at Temple Quarter. And this company, which will formalise the long-standing relationship between the council and its partners, will mean a single entity is created for Temple Quarter. And this will help increase the speed and quality of delivery across the area with a single organisation pushing the project forward. This joint delivery vehicle will be overseen by a board made up of representatives from each of the partners, with Bristol City Council and the Combined Authority bringing democratic accountability to the decision-making process through their respective democratic processes and elected members. And this will mean the running of the programme can be done by one expert body. This new organisation will be able to negotiate and contract with the private sector to bring a development partner on board to transform Temple Quarter. And our partners are going through their own approvals processes right now, as we all know the value of speed. If we do delay, we risk delaying the start of procurement for a partner and thus delaying delivery of the key infrastructure and new development in the first phase of the programme. So the partners have also agreed to pool their land holdings, and this land will come under the effective control of the joint delivery vehicle. And by pooling our land, the public sector is ensuring that the right things get done in the right places across the whole area, not on a piecemeal basis, helping to ensure the comprehensive regeneration of the area in line with our aims and aspirations for not just this part of Bristol, but the whole of the city. So any proceeds generated from the development of public land in the first phase will be reinvested into phase 2, enabling us to continue the transformation of this part of the city centre. And finally, please remember there is an exempt appendix to this paper, so if any cabinet member wishes to discuss it, we'll need to move into exempt session to discuss that. So on this report, we've received 3 public forum statements. The first is from Dave Redgewell, who is not with us, and I'm sure he's watching online. So as ever, Dave, over the power of the internet, I hope you're doing okay. The second from Rich Bonner, who isn't here, but we will keep that one on record. The third statement is from Martin Fodor. So Martin, we'll give you the minute for your statement.
Thanks very much, Mayor. Yes, I'm just flagging the issue that you haven't mentioned, which is about while the pooling of the land, the creation of the development framework, and the collaboration to achieve this regeneration is underway. What I was flagging is whether or not the the spaces between the development, the public spaces, the roads, and any new areas for recreation will be in public hands or in private hands. More and more of the city is in private hands, managed in Harbourside, Millennium Square, Cabot Circus, Temple Quay North, the new Victoria Street, Temple Gate spaces are going to be privately managed. What happens when they're privately managed is the council is no longer in charge of the land, the security, the street sweeping, the events, markets, the rules, the rights of public assembly.
Just 10 seconds, Martin.
Yeah, so I'd just like to check if the instructions to officers to conclude the negotiations will secure public open space rather than private open space managed elsewhere.
Thank you very much. So let's move on to questions now, I believe we got. So Martin, would you like to ask your first question?
Yes, thank you. So the first question is, what is the council's position regarding creating pseudo-public private spaces in new development areas?
So it's not pseudo if it's publicly owned. If it is privately owned, there's little we can do about it, but we'd support private owners making space open for people to access. And although, of course, this comes with responsibilities for people to act in an appropriate way, in line with the landowners' expectations. But on the regeneration programs we've been involved in, we've been stressing the importance of permeability and public access. you have a supplementary, or would you like to ask your second question?
I'll go to the second question, thank you. So what representations have the council officers and partners made to the other regeneration partners to ensure that the streets and spaces created in this quarter are kept as fully public open spaces and highways, and that all the normal public services and rules for the public do apply?
Well, over the last, even in the last Temple Quarter meeting, and even yesterday meeting with one of the developers of the space down there, this has been key, that we stress the importance of improved public access with more spaces for the public to be able to dwell, and also as part of an improved retail and hospitality offer as well. And actually, we were even talking about access not just at the ground level, but at within the buildings, as well. So, as just discussed in the previous question, improved access to the station from the east and the south will also be a big investment in this. But more widely, we will see how the Temple Island development will have a central public space and access from the Bath Road as well through the site that is currently inaccessible. So, did you have a supplementary?
Yes, firstly, so does that mean that the open spaces will be fully public? A lot of the land is from public bodies. Will the open spaces have the same rights of assembly, be coordinated with our own public markets, have the same recycling services, have the same signage? I mean, we've seen the fiasco in Temple Quay North where they put up no photography signs on the private land recently and then took them down and said it was a mistake commissioning them and putting them up.
Yeah, I mean, Martin, one of the things that we've always, asked for is better quality, debate. And when you start, copying the language of one of our other 20-odd year serving councillors and start throwing words like fiasco around, it really doesn't do you or this organisation a service. There was a mistake made of some signage. That's what happened. I mean, but, it's a bit premature to talk about that. We've stressed the importance of inclusion. We've made a commitment to delivering the SDGs. We've asked all of our city regen partners to commit to the SDGs. That includes, that is built around inclusion. That's inclusive in the way we go about regeneration, economically providing jobs, but it's also in physical access also. And we will expect our development partners to work with us to deliver that. The very nature of ownership would depend on who ultimately owns the land, but accessibility, permeability, restoring the city, delivering over 10,000 homes, 22,000 jobs, and rejuvenating a part of the city that's been left ignored for decades is of critical importance to our city's development, as is building those homes on brownfield sites within active travel distance of major transport, retail, entertainment, and employment areas.
So,
I think,
in terms of my second, were you going to add anything? No.
Okay, do you want to ask a second supplementary?
Just to reiterate, I mean, will our negotiators, on behalf of the council and the other public bodies, be creating fully public open spaces or not?
Martin, I can see the point you're trying to get to, or the wordsmithery you're trying to engage in. What we are saying is the area needs to be developed. We must work with our private sector partners. It can't be done with public sector alone. We're setting up a joint delivery vehicle. We're going to have thousands upon thousands of homes down there, and we will create a space that is accessible and permeable to people. We're just starting on the master planning, so the very nature of that will be yet to be determined, but this will be a place when we open it up from the Bath Road, when we open up the eastern entrance, when we bring the watercourse back into route, when we put the cycle lanes upon it, along it, will make it much more available to people than it is at present. But the details around that are yet to be confirmed. But if you want to get involved in any of the issues of real substance in Bristol, such as the housing crisis, the unaffordability of life in Bristol, the inability of people to afford to live here, now children going out food, then please get in touch outside this meeting, as well. Thank you.
Could you answer the question? The instruction to our negotiators.
Martin's finished. Yeah. So can I offer any comments to any other cabinet members on this item, please? Tom.
Brilliant to see this step being taken. We know how crucial it is to really make sure we've got a solid way of progressing forwards with the regeneration of Temple Court, and then of course the follow-on work that will happen with St Philip's Marsh. It's going to unlock thousands of homes, many of which will be affordable to people that are very much in need on our housing waiting list. So it's really brilliant to see it coming forward. And of course, it's not just the housing, or that's obviously the bit I tend to focus on. It's about the jobs it's going to create, the employment opportunities, new community facilities, and alongside the local plan that we've brought through, it's going to strengthen many of the things we want to see. It's going to be brilliant.
Thanks, Tom. Any other Cabinet members to speak on this? Asher, you need a mic.
I was just going to add, really, it opens up an area to the wider city and obviously the communities adjacent to it that have never had an opportunity because of the way in, how it looks at this moment in time. So I'm really excited to see how the final master plan, but for me, again, most importantly, how they engage with local communities and really get this right. So, and there are some really good examples of developers who've come into the city and actually worked incredibly well with local communities. And so, yeah, that's my take.
Thank you. And for me, I in the final comments before I make the decision, I just, again, thanks to be given out to Homes England, to Network Rail, to the staff members at the Combined Authority who have worked so hard behind the scenes to bring this forward, Historic England who've been involved as well, obviously University of Bristol, L&G, all these partners who came together initially in 2017, and I'm sure I've missed some out, who came together in 2017 and have stayed the course for 6 years to bring forward what the previous chief exec of Homes England, Nick Walkley, described as one of the most exciting regeneration opportunities in Europe. An opportunity that would remain undeveloped, unavailable, if we hadn't have put those hard yards in over the last 6 years. And we'll now go on a 10, 12, 13-year build-out to deliver those homes. And one of the phrases I've used often is when we're thinking about questions of sustainability, and housing and the kind of homes we build and where we build them will be one of the biggest determinants of the price the planet pays for hosting us in our growing numbers. Building homes on this brownfield site in the middle of the city is one of the best contributions we can make to taking the emissions out of the population growth that is on our way. So thanks to all those people and to our own team in-house, Bristol City Council officers, again, who've put so many hard yards into this. And there's a lot to go, which is one of the reasons why with so much uncertainty in our political future, that it's so important to get this joint delivery vehicle in place and driving. Okay, so in terms of the decision to be made today, I approve the recommendations as set out in the report, and they are currently being displayed on the screen. I know there'll be some partners around the country who are very happy I just said that. So at the national level, yeah. Okay, agenda item 10, framework contract for temporary accommodation. Tom.
Thank you, Marvin. So Bristol is experiencing rising rates of homelessness, and since the pandemic we've seen a 25% increase in the households, and that's an average of 510 households a month approaching the council because of homelessness related issues. And the other thing we're also seeing is higher use of temporary accommodation, with it being 87% higher than before the pandemic. Through the council's temporary accommodation programme, we're focused on reducing the cost of temporary accommodation to the authority by reducing our reliance on expensive, privately managed TA, and I'd go as far as to say exploitative. We are commissioning our emergency accommodation framework at the moment as well to reduce costs and increase the amount of TA that we're going to provide directly, as well as working with registered provider partners as well to make sure we've got more supported accommodation. We do need to secure hotel accommodation, and I want to be clear, it is as a last resort for those who are homeless when there is no other suitable alternative. This includes clients who are being supported by a range of council services, whether that's housing options, estates, adult social care and children's services. Click Travel itself is an online portal which we use to make payments to book hotels. We have a contract with Click Travel in place until March 24, and we need to extend this by both the length of time and the approved spend. The online portal itself is free to use, and a 5% discount on hotel prices is applied. The proposed 3-year contract would start in November 2023 and end in November 2026, with the option of a 12-month extension with a contract value of 1.38 million. I commend the report to Cabinet.
Thanks, Tom. We've had nothing on temporary accommodation today. It is one of the biggest financial challenges facing local government in general, including ourselves. But can I, before I make any comment, can I offer it to any Cabinet members who wish to comment on this one? Craig?
I will, but only to probably say what you're going to say, which is that, I mean, you go to any council in this country today, and you will find that they are all struggling with a temporary accommodation bill that is hitting their ability to deliver other services to vulnerable people in the country. And unless this kind of nettle is grasped nationally, this problem isn't going to go away. So it's great, you know, we're doing what we can here in Bristol, and what Tom's doing is great, but, you know, are we going to solve the whole problem? We definitely aren't, and the government needs to do something urgently.
Thank you, Craig. Well, let me hand back to you in a minute, Tom, but I'll just add too, it's worth just, you know, again, just reminding ourselves of the financial challenge we face. I laid out in the last full council, I think it was, that, you know, this perfect storm that we're facing, increasing complexity and need in our population, increasing numbers of people in need, but the increasing costs of meeting those needs on the back of 13 years now of austerity that's undermined local government resources. And that perfect storm has left so many local authorities in precarious financial situations. We've seen Birmingham being one of them. I mean, just to summarise nationally, temporary homes in England is costing the taxpayer £1.7 billion a year now, and the annual cost of paying rents would be enough to build about 100,000 new homes over 5 years. What I have here is it's twice as high as it was in 2015-16, and it rose to 1.6 billion last year and has now risen again by 9%. And there was a very powerful piece of commentary over the weekend I read of someone saying councillors who keep opposing housing delivery are being irresponsible, not just in undermining our ability to meet the housing crisis that we face right here, right now, be it in housing supply, but all cost in private rents, but also in bringing a loss of council tax revenue, but bringing this financial challenge to us in the lack of supply, meaning that we can't house families, which is a tragedy for them and a financial tragedy for the local authorities as well. We've had that continually from some of the parties who support tackling the housing crisis in concept, but don't support delivering houses in reality. And this is one of the challenges that we've really had to take on. It's a real shame. We need a little bit more accountability for the difference between what the opposition say and what they actually do. But there you go. And I'm going to back to you now, Tom, to take the decision which I support and which will now be displayed on the screen.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't agree with you both more. In terms of decision to be made today, I approve the recommendations as set out in the report.
Thanks, Tom. So let's move on to agenda item 11, Single Homelessness Accommodation Programme, funding bid, expansion of Housing First. This is with you as well.
The Single Homelessness Accommodation Programme, or SHAP for short, offers the opportunity to secure grant funding to increase the supply of high-quality supported accommodation, which is needed to help individuals recover from the root causes of homelessness and reduce rough sleeping in Bristol. It's accommodation that would be targeted at single people who would normally be owed a full homelessness duty and would therefore provide a cost-effective alternative to privately managed, unsupported temporary accommodation. We bought another paper on this in September, and as was mentioned there, the programme's targeted at 2 cohorts, so single adults with a long history of rough sleeping or with complex needs, and also young people aged 18 to 25 at risk of experiencing homelessness or rough sleeping. And there's 2 strands to the funding that's available. You've got capital grant funding to deliver additional accommodation, whether that's blocks of supported housing or dispersed Housing First units. And there's also revenue grant funding to provide that intensive wraparound support that many tenants in the accommodation will need. Today's approval is sought for a further bid to buy up to 30 dispersed one-bed properties using SHAP capital grant funding and HRA capital, along with the revenue funding, to commission a Housing First service for residents placed in properties by the council. In Housing First, housing is the starting point rather than the end goal, supported by policies and practices that are designed to keep people in existing ordinary housing if they're experiencing or at risk of homelessness. As the name suggests, a Housing First service provides housing as soon as possible without attaching conditions such as a requirement to abstain from drugs and alcohol. This means that people in Housing First programmes have a high degree of control over the support and the treatment they receive, including whether or not to use different support services. And just a further reflection I wanted to offer was that we know there's much to do to address homelessness locally and nationally. And the Kerslake Commission to End Homelessness and Rough Sleeping provides an effective blueprint for this. And in this November's autumn statement, action must be taken to stem the issues from getting significantly worse. This needs to include rebasing local housing allowance rates back to the 30th percentile, among many other measures. And remarks of rough sleeping being a lifestyle choice and stopping organisations from giving out tents must be condemned in the strongest possible terms. Such comments do nothing to help address the challenges many are facing across the city. I would also reflect that the government also needs to get on with the job of renters reform, stop kicking the can down the road and get on with banning no-fault evictions, one of the leading drivers of homelessness across the country. I commend the report to Cabinet.
Thank you, Tom. Couldn't agree more with your comments there on the comments coming from our Home Secretary. There's nothing from any councillors today on this item. With no public forum, at all. Can I offer any cabinet members Kai?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Fully support this paper. Also heard you on the radio this morning. I thought you, obviously presented the case really well. Quite clearly, this is a drop in the ocean. We'd obviously like to do a lot more, but I think it's the business case is excellent here, where we can use some of our money, and there's grant funding from government that gets the case over the line. But you say it's only for 30 places when the problem's a lot larger than that. So the gap between what we're doing and what needs to be done is huge, and it will take a change of government to turn that around. And as many, as we've already said, the comments from the Home Secretary, even though it's not her brief, is it, homelessness, is absolutely shocking. And I think if you look at the figures, the last Labour government almost completely eliminated rough sleeping, and after 2010 with benefit changes and you say the removal of the cap on the local housing allowance, all those issues, removal of support services, we've just seen the problem exploding and go up really. So I think it's more of a sort of a dead cat sort of strategy approach, isn't it? Just throw something on the table to distract from your own role in the problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kai. Well, if there are no other comments, let me hand back to you, Tom, to take the decision which I support and will now be displayed on the screen.
Thank you. In terms of decision to be made today, I approve the recommendations as set out in the report.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks, Kai. So, agenda item 12, fire safety framework. This item has been deferred and will come back to December's Cabinet. Agenda item 13, We Work for Everyone Phase 2. Asha, you'll bring this item.
Thank you. We Work for Everyone is a programme designed to improve employment outcomes for people with learning difficulties and autism across the West of England Combined Authority area. Despite the impact of COVID, the first phase of the programme has engaged 699 adults in Bristol and has achieved significant success in engaging participants without basic skills, as well as supporting economically inactive participants into job search. Improving employment opportunities for this group, though, is key to inclusive economic growth and social mobility, and improving the independence of adults with learning difficulties. This paper seeks approval to negotiate with the Combined Authority for Phase 2 of the programme. If successful in negotiations, the Director of Adult Social Care and our Director of Education and Skills will implement a joint work plan in partnership with specialist providers and employers to improve the employment outcomes of adults supported through the programme. Thank you.
Thank you, Asha. We've had no public forum statements or questions for this. Can I ask any other Cabinet members if they wish to comment on this? Helen.
Thanks, Marvin. And I think there's an update on this. I think we've heard that we have been successful. So we have got the additional money. And that gives us an extra year. And I think as Asha has said and as the report shows, it's a national problem, and it's one where we haven't been particularly good performers. But as many of you know, this is what I used to do when I had a real job, and getting people with learning disabilities into employment is such a priority for me. I know that we stated that we wanted to double the amount of people that we supported in that way. And it's everybody's business, isn't it? So the recent Health and Wellbeing Board and Economy and Skills Board joint session about workforce issues, we know that lots and lots of sectors have real workforce pressures. We know that a lot of employers are reticent about thinking about employing people with learning disabilities. But with this programme, we're able to both find those opportunities and support people into those jobs so that the employer, those concerns that the employer might have about taking that step are taken away because that support is there. And I think that, as Asha has just concluded on, it needs to be a shared programme between adult social care and employment and skills, because we know who those people are. We're not talking just about the easiest people to reach, which tends to be at the younger age group, because young people who've been through special school have been educated and trained to think that they have those possibilities that everybody has, a gloriously ordinary life, as the Social Care Futures describes it. That's what most young people want. And so the younger age range, we've found it easier to work with them, but the older age range, which I'm particularly focused on, we really need to do more. And actually the council itself, we need to do more about a commitment to supporting people with learning disabilities into employment here, because if I'm going to go out, or Asha's going to go out and encourage other employers to do it, they will naturally say, well, what's the council doing? And we need to be able to show that. So I'm really pleased that we've got the extra year's money. We are going to, as the report says, renew that partnership between adult social care and education and skills. But we're also going to have to think about what happens at the end of that year when that money runs out, because really we should be doing this as our business as usual, that the expectation is that many, many more people can work. As I say, it's a nationally, the figure is shocking. And, there are good examples both in the southwest and in other places. And there's a real renewed effort around that extra money to bring those figures up, because it is life-changing, both for the people who get jobs and also actually for the lessons learned by the employers who take people with learning disabilities on. So I commend the application. We already know that we've got it, which is great, and we need to spend it wisely.
Thank you, Helen. Don.
Yeah, thanks. No, I look forward as a local councillor to working on this. We've got a lot of job opportunities out in Sevenside. I have friends who used to work for Remploy, and maybe that model is kind of dated, but it was a tragedy when it was lost. And some of them are still of employment age, and lost a lot of the structure in their lives and their friendships when that closed, and a lot of the meaning that gave to them. And it wasn't replaced with anything. That was a tragedy. And they were working well, and it was a kind of internal financial problems, managerial problems, which brought it down, not the model actually, though it was perhaps dated in some ways. So I really look forward to a replacement to this, and I'd be happy to work with, as a ward councillor, with anyone who's taken this on. Paul probably, isn't it, again? Is it Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great, love to.
Thanks, Don. Did I see Asher as well? Did you want to come in?
I was going to say, I was thinking about some of the work that we've done to kind of increase the number of black and minoritized communities, and I'm thinking there is scope here, and I'll talk to Jane about the highly successful recruitment fairs that we have held right here in City Hall next door in the Queen Elizabeth Conference Centre, and it has been life-changing not only for the people who came here, and it was oversubscribed, but the employers themselves were completely overwhelmed because they said they have tried and somehow failed to attract the right kind of candidate. So I think there's something in what we are doing with those group of, I think we had about 45 different employers, and all of them, I think, let's work together and try and get, if we can't do it before we leave, we need to do set the wheels in motion so that we can have a fair like that directly targeted at people with learning difficulties and disabilities. Thanks.
Thank you very much for those comments. So, Asher, well, it's straight back to you, actually. No, it's not. Yes, it is you.
Yeah, so in terms of the decision to be made today, I approve the recommendations as set out in the report.
Thank you. And that decision is being displayed on the screen. Okay, and agenda item 14, 16 plus commissioning and sufficiency strategy for children in care and care leavers. Asher, this is still with you.
Okay, so as part of the Council's statutory duty and our ambition to be a child-friendly city, we must take the steps to ensure we can provide children in care with homes that meet their needs. This strategy details our approach to ensuring a sufficient range and number of providers capable of meeting the different needs of the 16-plus age group. The 16-plus age group are the largest cohort entering our care system, and population projections show that this is forecast to grow by a further 31%. And given the high numbers already in care and due to become care leavers in the next 5 years, as well as population projections, this cohort is a key focus in our sufficiency planning. The strategy sets out our ambitions to keep our 16-plus young people local and increase placement stability through developing the market and creating more specialist provision in or close to Bristol. This will ensure children and young people retain consistent links and access to local education, health and social care services in line with our belonging strategy, and I'm pleased to bring this report to Cabinet for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Asher. So we've had no public forum on this, no statements or questions, nothing from any of our councillors. Any cabinet members wish to comment on this item? No? Okay. Well, Asher, let me not hold it up. Let me hand back to you to take the decision which I support and which will now be displayed on the screen.
So in terms of the decision to be made today, I approve the recommendations as set out in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Asher. So on to 15, Fibre and CCTV contract amendment. This item will be deferred until the December Cabinet meeting. On to agenda item 16, re-tender of Microsoft Azure agreement. Craig, this is yours.
Thanks, Marvin. This report seeks permission to procure and award a 3-year contract for continued use of the Microsoft Azure cloud infrastructure. Microsoft Azure is a cloud-based data center technology used by the Council. We migrated several services to Microsoft Azure during the delivery of the IT transformation programme and is continuing this process under its current cloud migration project. What that means, doesn't sound very exciting, but what that means in practice is we used to host rooms full of servers in this building, in Temple Street, in tower blocks and in other bits of the Council's estate, sucking up energy and needing regular refresh and updating as technology moved on, as our use increased. Now we've moved all that to the cloud, which enables us to take advantage of that tech refresh with economies of scale that we wouldn't get doing it ourselves. So, Our current contract expires on the 31st of March 2024. We need to have a contract in place that will allow us to continue to utilise this solution within the vendor licence terms. I should also point out that the value of £864,000 per annum quoted in the paper is very much a ceiling, and we fully intend to keep spending below that.
Thank you, Craig. No public forum statements or questions on this. Any Cabinet member know what's going on and wish to comment on this one? Azure, Microsoft, Re-Procurement. So, yeah, Craig, it's definitely your ballpark. Let me hand back to you now, Craig, to take the decision which I support and which will now be displayed on the screen.
It's exciting and important stuff, and it helped us to get through the pandemic in a way that we probably never would have done otherwise. In terms of the decision to be made today, I approve the recommendations as set out in the report.
It's one of those, we've talked about it in the past, haven't we? Those areas that happen secretly in the organisation. No one knows it's happening until it goes wrong. And making sure that we're on top of our IT and our storage, and actually doing it more in a more climate-friendly way as well. We're getting rid of all those servers, and is incredibly important to our own carbon footprint as well. So thank you for the hard yards you're putting in on that. So let's go to agenda item 17, Microsoft Dynamics Re-Procurement. Same ballpark, Craig.
Yeah, thank you. There's another one that doesn't sound very exciting, but I think it is anyway. I'm bringing forward approval for a 5-year contract extension of Microsoft Dynamics, which is our council's customer relationship management system and plays a crucial role in enhancing our customer services. Microsoft Dynamics provides a 360-degree view of citizens, efficient case management, workflow automation, and data-driven insights, resulting in a better service for our citizens, leading to quicker problem resolution and improved service quality. When I first came in 2016, I was astonished but not surprised to find that the council didn't have any system that held a kind of individual view of any resident. So if you rang and asked about your bins and then you rang and talked about your council tax, you were treated as a different person each time, and there was no consistent view of you. You could have 9 different requests in the council and no one would know that that was happening. Creating a single view of resident is a really important thing, and it's something I'm quite passionate about. We are on that journey. We've not finished it, but we're on the way there. And this is the way we're going to deliver that. The current contract expires in May 24, and we aim to secure its continuity through a competitive procurement process, ensuring financial prudence and the potential to reduce licensing costs as we transition to online channels. Therefore, I recommend approving this extension and authorise the team to effectively manage the procurement process. This decision is vital for the continued success of our customer-centric activities and operational efficiency. And as with the Azure contracts, the values quoted are the maximum we intend to spend, and we fully expect to spend less than that.
Thank you, Craig. No public forum statements or questions. Any Cabinet members wish to comment? Okay, Craig, let me hand back to you to take the decision which I support and which will now be displayed on the screen.
In terms of the decision to be made today, I approve the recommendations as set out in the report.
Agenda item 18, Corporate Catering Review Project. Craig.
Yeah, thanks, Marvin. There's been no single consistent delivery model in the Council for services which relate to food, catering and events. This paper is to update Cabinet on the work that is being done to prepare business cases in relation to catering contracts and changes to service delivery models. The paper contains details on contracts that have been extended and to seek endorsement of the up-to-date timeline, plans and scope of the work in relation to parks, cafes, and also the timeline for events, functions, venue hire and on-site catering.
No public forum statements or questions. Any Cabinet members? No, let me hand back to you now, Craig, to take the decision which I support and which will now be displayed on the screen.
In terms of the decision to be made today, I approve the recommendations as set out in the report.
Thank you. Agenda item 19, Finance Exception Report, P6 2023-24. Craig, this is with you as well.
Yeah, the finance report for Period 6 is an exception report, and as such reports only on significant financial issues and movements since Period 5 against the Council's forecast revenue and capital position for the year. At Period 6, the Council is forecasting an overspend of 11.7 million at the full year against the approved general fund budget of 483.5 million. This reflects the 11.5 million net emergent pressure reported in recent months within the Children Education Directorate, and for which funding to mitigate is currently held in abeyance within an earmarked reserve. Additional risks and opportunities which have the potential to impact the general fund are currently assessed as presenting an incremental weighted net risk of 1.1 million. The forecast outturn includes the planned delivery of 37.5 million savings, except where risk of non-delivery has been included in the 1.1 million. This net risk does not include any implications linked to the eventual pay award for 23-24. The housing revenue account is forecasting a 0.8 million full-year underspend. Any over or underspend will be balanced through the HRA general reserves at the full-year close. The dedicated schools grant is forecasting a mitigated 16.4 million full-year overspend. This level of overspend will bring the DSG's carry-forward deficit at the close of 23-24 to 56.1 million. Public Health forecasts no variance to its ring-fenced annual budget of 35.7. In this period, the capital programme is forecasting an underspend of 2.9 million. This represents a 1.4 million underspend on general fund capital investment, including the contingency, and a 1.5 million underspend on the HRA's capital programme. Cabinet is asked to approve the Great Western Credit Union request to approve a loan from City Funds of 0.7 million at a fixed rate for 7 years, and the proposed redesignation of the Traded with Schools reserve of 0.25 million to facilitate temporary support for local authority maintained schools and nurseries in financial difficulty. Cabinet is also asked to authorise the Exec Director Adult and Communities, in consultation with the Section 151 officer and myself, acceptance of the grant from Sport England for swimming pool support funding if successful, and the procurement and contract award for expenditure of that funding. Thank you.
Thanks, Craig. No public forum statements or questions. Any Cabinet members? Again, just say, Craig, thanks for all the work from you and the finance team. Ongoing, as I set out earlier on, incredibly challenging times for us, in particular local government in general. Let me hand back to you now to take the decision which I support and which will now be displayed on the screen.
In terms of the decision to be made today, I approve the recommendations as set out in the report.
Thank you, Craig. On to agenda item 20, Q2 Corporate Risk Report, and this is with you as well.
Yeah, thanks. Last one from me. This report provides an update on the current significant strategic risks in achieving the Council's objectives as set out in the corporate strategy, and summarises progress in managing the risks and actions being taken as at Q2. The report is a key document in the Council's approach to the management of risk and provides a context through which directorates construct their own high-level risk assessments and is used to inform decision-making about business planning, budget setting, transformation and service delivery. There is one critical risk for this quarter about the risk of children placed in unregistered provision. The numbers have not reduced due to high needs of the children who require placements and the lack of placements. There are 5 improving risks relating to business continuity, the MTFP and finance framework, capital portfolio delivery, weak workforce resilience and potential threat of financial sustainability of nursery schools. This report also summarises the progress and actions taken managing and reducing these risks to tolerable levels, and further details are provided within the report.
Thanks, Craig. No public forum statements or questions. Any Cabinet member comments? Asha?
Yeah, I just want to make it fundamentally clear that the point that Councillor Cheney was making about children in an unregistered provision, both myself and the Chief Exec are regularly kept updated, and I know that the staff work tirelessly to try and find registered placements, and in some cases some of those children who are in unregistered placements, the provider is actually currently going through registration, so hopefully that breaks the back on that. But again, it is a problem that the whole country is facing in terms of unregistered provision, and we really need to find a way through, because the demand is increasing and the costs are getting higher. Thanks.
Thank you, Asha. So Craig, let me hand back to you to take the decision which I support and will now be displayed on the screen.
In terms of the decision to be made today, I approve the recommendations as set out in the report.
Okay, that's the end of today's Cabinet meeting. Thank you to everyone for attending or watching. The date of the next Cabinet meeting is Tuesday, the 5th of December this year. Thank you.